Hello humans, Master Dinnerflex here, bringing you the low quality content you deserve. And today, I am going over a prototype deck of a deck I really thought I would never have the displeasure of playing again. And that is Trickstar. Now, the reason I am even slightly driven to make any video whatsoever on this deck isn't because I like the deck or have any, interest in it. I like the Trickstar engine and other things like agents and shit-alls. That's pretty neat, because the reality is Trickstar is a gadget deck. The only thing these cards accomplish is getting more copies of themselves, which is only useful if you can use what they are. And the reason I'm going to put that out there right now is because this is why I wanted to make an actual Trickstar deck for YouTube, is because I was looking around and, being shown some Trickstar modern deck lists because Light Stage Winter 2, and it's beyond bad. It's not just beyond bad, but it's bad because it's showing how much of a relic in time people think this deck list is. The decks I was looking at were passable Trickstar decks in 2018. And you might be thinking, well, 2018 was a powerful year. Relative. Relative to what everything was, 2018 was a powerful year. But in 2018, Yugioh had something that it doesn't have nearly at the same level it does anymore, and that is choke points. And that's why I'm going to show off these cards, because in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, choke points is a stretch. Choke points mean when you cut something off from any given deck, it completely kills the deck for a turn or multiple turns. That's what a choke point means. It literally has a death grip on them. Which is why back in the day, if you Veilered his old, that could have been it. That could have been their entire turn. If you hit Firewall Dragon, that could be the entire turn. You could easily eliminate someone's turn with one hand trap. That's a joke nowadays. That is a joke. At best, decks have bruise points. You could possibly, maybe, shut down a deck for a turn if you Ash Branded Fusion. But sometimes you can Ash Branded Fusion and it not accomplish much of anything, or anything at all. So this idea of, choke points in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't really work anymore, and because of that, you have to recognize why Trickstar isn't good what it was doing back then. Because the game plan was literally do nothing but sit on hand traps. That won't work anymore. I'm sorry, that time in Yu-Gi-Oh! Has passed. The, Alistair 18 hand trap deck will never really work. Probably ever again. Because hand traps don't accomplish much of anything except delaying. They no longer stop anything. They just delay or reduce. They create bruise points, not choke points. And that is why I had such a problem with these deck lists, is because they're trying to play 2018 Trickstars in 2022, which not only is bad, but it's bad because there were also 2019 Trickstars, which actually started addressing this problem, and one of the ways they did that is they maxed out on Korobane and played Artifact Scythe and Instant Fusion, because whatever their first cards they drew were, they were going to put a Pallades there as well. And Pallades not only could bounce Light Stage for extra resources, but was a strong disruption. And Scythe, we're familiar with that as well, so yeah. So even in 2019, Trickstar decks are trying to address this issue. But the fact that we got one Light Stage and we revert back to a year before they were hit in deck building theory shows how incredibly far off people view this deck. This deck is not good. It won't be good in what made it playable back in 2018. That will never happen. But what I decided to do is I'm going to make a prototype deck list. And if you're new to the channel, which plenty of you are, I haven't made one of these in a while. Basically, it's a blueprint for ideas of a deck I'm going to make, or you can use to make a deck. Because, to put it simply, I did it with Win Synchro, which was several months ago, and the reason I did that is because there's so much to work with and so much to test. It's very hard to figure out what the end goal would be. So I made a prototype deck list before the real one. And I'm going to do the same with Trickstar. But to do that, I'm thinking over different types of ideas I can do with this deck. And I'm going to show off one of them right now. And it's actually just going to be a very, very quick combo of a demonstration. And all you would need is like a combination of Lycoris, Candina, and Light Stage. Any two of them. Like Light Stage, Candina, like Licorice, Candina, like Licorice, Light Stage. Like a bunch of different combinations. So let's just go with Light Stage. Because we'll go with Light Stage, Candina. We will start off with Light Stage. And we'll also just get 2 searches out of this. We're going to get 2 Licorice. And if you don't know, they can actually, both Licorice can activate at the same time. So we get to actually summon both. Now, back in the day, this was the end. This was Trickstar in the end phase. That's nothing. Jesus, please don't think that's a valid win condition. What I'm instead going to do is summon all these cool Ghostrick monsters. Yay. Now, regardless of your opinion on this, I wanted to demonstrate this because this is one theory I'm thinking with the deck. Kind of going like a strong toolboxy extra deck option. And I'll show you like the Ghostrick engine here. You've probably seen this before either on my channel or MBT pissing off the Ghostrick community. I'm sorry, Ghostrick cards were never good, and this is like genuinely the best use for them. That is not an exaggeration. So, you just set up this. Now, one thing I've also been testing in a few other decks where I do the Ghostricks is I actually put in a second search target, which I'm going to go ahead and search right now. Renovation. Now, you could play Ghostrick field spells, I guess, for this. I would never do that, ever. But that's not what we're going to use this for. I'm going to show you what we're going to use it for soon. But once we have this in our hand, we're going to activate one of the Angels of Mischief, either one, and just attach this under it. And because we're going to make F-Zero, it'll fall off. So the only thing we really did is we added it to our hand to send it to the graveyard. So that's the idea. And then you end on an F-Zero, and we have Candina and Ghostrick Shot for the follow-up, which is actually pretty nice. And Light Stage to hit any back row on the following turn. So then we still have 3 random cards, which when it comes to how a gadget deck works, that's like a perfect solution. You have resources on the follow-up, you have a form of disruption, and you still have plenty of cards to work with. So that's good. But this is why I wanted to show what the follow-up means. Because even if you use F-Zero and it doesn't take anything, that's fine, because I'm going to show you what happens next. We would go into our opponent's turn, lock any back row, we're at 4 random cards. We get Candina, and with this, we could go for Lilybell. And then in addition to that, we can go into Ghostrick Shot and get back the Alucard. And now, this is where this begins to matter quite a bit. Because in a normal circumstance, you can't do too much with an Alucard, Lilybell, and whatnot. But with this, let's just say our opponent has 1 spell card in their graveyard. We're going to activate Renovation, and we are going to summon So Cute Boss. Now, you can use its pop effect if you want to, but we are not going to do that. The reason that is why I even decided to add innovation to this combo. Quite literally, it just summons a spellcaster that can be in defense, which you know what that means. We're going to link these 3 into Celine. And Celine, well, here's what we're going to do. Chainlink 1 Alucard to target a shot. And then Chainlink 2 would be Celine. And because the Ghostrick Shot stays in there, our opponent has 1 spell, we have 2 somewhere we can see. So the Ghostrick Shot gets countered before it gets added to hand. So now we have this, and we can just use Celine to take off all of these. And there we go, we can summon a spellcaster in defense. This was technically XE summoned by Renovation, so we can do that. And then, here we go, access code. This is game, 5300, we get a pop, 3053, so that's just game. This is one approach I was thinking with the deck. Now, you might be thinking, well, it's kind of asking you... It's asking a lot of cards and 2 main deck bricks to do this combo. And that's a few other angles I want to take with this deck, and one of them is this. Now, these... Originally, I was just thinking about using it to protect, like, a really back row heavy strategy of Trickstar. But I also was looking at the other options it has. Not only does it have Huggins, the Starlight Road, but it also has access to whatever this one's name is. Its protection effect is way worse because it loses pretty much all of its, like, protection effect. It can protect one set. It can, like, protect targeting from sets by banishing itself. But, I guess it's, like, a reason why Forbidden Dress isn't good. Because if your opponent just starts by targeting the card, that's where this card just has no function when it comes to chain ability. So, because of that, it's just... The protection effect is way worse, but the level is way better. And because the level is way better, you can make, like, rank 3s, and it being a fairy matters in this one final demonstration, which... I'm going to do this final demonstration to give you another idea of an angle I was thinking with this deck. So, it turns out, as I was actually setting up, I just drew it naturally. This is another angle I was thinking about the deck. So, this deck is full of fairies, and I was just thinking, what are ways we could take advantage of their typing rather than their levels? And that's when I came up with this alternate idea of, like, some extra link fodder. And... what you would need is just a way to get 3 fairies on board, and what's really cool is Candina and Light Stage is 2 of those. So we will go with Light Stage, search Candina, which would then search either Lilybell, which would summon itself, or Corabane, which can reveal itself to summon itself. Either one. Let's just go with Corabane, because Lilybell's, like, kind of important to keep in deck. Then, we can... go ahead. If we draw a point to the Mist Rune, we can search and then do it. But let's just not play around roll. I mean, let's play around roll, my bad. And we will summon this one. And we now have 3 fairies on board. And we are going to link them away into Parshath. Now, this used 2 random cards, and we're going to need to toss a 3rd one for this. So we'll go ahead and toss one. And we will search Fallen Sanctuary. Now, you might have thought this was an agent card, but the reality is it's not. It's a generic fairy card. And let me show you what I mean. Because when it goes to our opponent's turn, we're going to activate Fallen Sanctuary. And with Fallen Sanctuary, we have to set a spell or trap that is Sanctuary or listed. And nothing stops it from setting another copy of itself. So technically, you could just play 3 of them and don't have to worry about searching it that often because you'll just draw one. And the discards can be some nice cards. Like, you know, here's a perfect one, Trickstar Reincarnation. That card's nice. So, this is a way you could approach it as well. And Fallen Sanctuary, it's just a continuous infinite impermanence. And if you're going for this back row strategy, that's where, like, these point to Mist Rune, the, like, Mist Rune cards can protect it. Even though they can't do it right now because this is in the extra monster zone, it's still a very valid way to use them because then they just still have their trap effect. So you'll just have a lot of card advantage from just very little setup. And that was another, like, approach I was thinking about the deck. I don't know if it's worth tryharding into the Parshath, but I definitely see merit to just maybe playing 3 of this, because this is a pretty nice card for how this deck functions. But now that I've got both of these demonstrations out of the way, I'm going to do a quick like gloss over of like the deck list to show you some ideas I'm working with. Alright, so the Trickstar lineup is just like 3 Candina, 3 Licorice, 1 Corabane, 1 Lilybell. I think that's standard, I guess, unless you do decide to go for a Pleiades route, then you'd like play a lot of these Corabane. Droll, I'm going to be totally honest, I think this combo is absolutely terrible. I think it's decent when both of these cards are good, but the reality is neither of these cards are good. So Droll, it's a very bad format for Droll. It's just, there's not much it actually hits properly. So it's like super mediocre. And Reincarnation has a great graveyard effect. I will not take that away from it. A fantastic graveyard effect. Its trap effect is abysmal. It is so bad. It is sometimes legitimately worse than it just sitting there the entire game. You can easily just banish your opponent's tragedies and make couriers out of hand, and you just get destroyed. Like, this card is so bad. The amount of times you can even use it in a respectable manner is very limited. I'm talking like long Yoon activates in hand when there's not a lot left, or like their branded is down to like 1 or 2 cards and they search branded fusion. Like, the amount of times this card's trap effect matters is so low, I would consider cutting this entirely or cutting it down to 1. This card is so genuinely not good. It's ridiculous. And Droll, also just not good. It's really hard to justify both those cards. But I will say the graveyard effect is so impressive with Reincarnation. It's so much to the point, I'm wondering if there is an alternative idea to Reincarnation, because I think actually using it at all is terrible. I think that is really, really bad. But perhaps as a discard outlet or a way to just send it from deck to grave might be an interesting approach you have. And then for the hand traps, play plenty of them. Even though this deck 1-card combo, it's not a 1-card combo, it's a 1-card resource engine. But that doesn't mean much. Like, a resource engine at least has to do something in Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! But that being said, even though this like really kind of needs 2 cards to play, they're really efficient at getting the cards they need, so you could like play a lot of traps and hand traps and it'd be fine. So yeah, and then Mysterin cards. Not really sure how I feel about these in the deck. I like them for extender purposes, and my opinion of using these cards in just generic back row decks, I'm actually all for. I actually think these are really, really strong. For just like any back row deck at all. But I will say, if your back row deck relies on the battle phase, do not even bother playing these cards. The only way you can make these cards worthwhile is if you can take cards off the board without ever attacking anything. And normally I would say Trickstar might not be the case, but to be fair, like, that's never been the case for them. And in addition, there's a lot of better links they have access to nowadays that you could probably like justify these cards. And I don't know how many you would play. This is probably overkill, but I think Point could be like one that's just always a 3 of, because it is all the others. So like if you need the Imperm or the blow up one, like it is that one. And then even the MST, it also is that one. So it might just be worth like maxing out and then like 2 1/1s or just like a handful of all the others. And then Light Stage, obvious. Terraforming, it's Light Stage. Called by the Grave, yeah. Fallen Sanctuary, like I said, you could just max out on it, because it is required to have more than 1 in your deck, or like you have to have 1 in your deck and then a card it can legally set, because it's a requirement to activate the card to set another card. So if you play 1 and nothing else, you can't use it. So keep that in mind. And then the Ghostrick stuff, like Renovation and Shot, yeah. And I don't know how many Reincarnations. I don't even know if you bother with Reincarnations. I know they have their own, like, premature burial. It's, like, Trickstar, and then it's a bunch of flowers. Trickstar, what is it? Not Banquet, it is this one. Yeah, so it's just a premature burial. I don't know. Like, it's really awkward, because Reincarnation just isn't good. It genuinely is not good. I would never recommend playing this card anymore. Like, the amount of times you can actually catch your opponent with it are so rare that this is just basically a dead card 99% of the time. Which is so much different than the way it used to be. And trying to draw lock your opponent is laughably bad. I'm sorry, that's also just not good. But now that that's being said, that's basically all the demonstration I want to give for this deck, except I will mention a few things in the extra deck. I've mentioned the Ghostrick package. I demonstrated it. If you're going to have Ghostrick package, though, always have Zeus, because Zeus is broken. You always want these two with the Mr. Runes. You can play more of them if you want to, but it's not that important to have multiples. And then, this is a card I would actually just, however you decide to build Trickstars, play one of this in the extra. It is just a eccentric Archfiend, not Exiled Force, eccentric Archfiend that this deck has access to. It can just tribute itself or any of your nonsense fairies off the board to blow up stuff, and man, it's like Trickstar has trouble with removal. There's a way to address that. I would just always recommend that in the deck list. If you play the Ghostrick combo, I don't think you need this for Selene, which is funny. But Selene you would need, and then like access code, Parshath for that other idea. And then in the side deck, I was throwing around some other ideas as well, because one of the things I do think the Pallades approach is actually just so incredibly good. Well, let me rephrase that. Good for what this deck wants to do, which is nothing. There's like a way you can approach that. I think it's totally valid. Pallades, still a good card. Durandal, actually an amazing card. I actually like this card a lot. And then, I was thinking, like, Nightshade and Bloom. I always like this combo. I think it's very strong, but, I don't know. It's a dead end when you search it. So, if you, like, have Candina, and you need to keep Candina in circulation, you just never search this. It's also another normal summon, which, it's almost always wants to be Candina that's a normal summon. So, I don't know. Like, Nightshade and not a Trickstar strategy is so incredibly good, but in this one, debatable at best. I don't know why I'm putting it in Nibiru, it's just there. But yeah, that's basically all I had for this prototype. Thank you all for watching, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you like Trickstars, seek help. That's both meant as a joke and as a way to say, like, the deck you're trying to play, you need to realize the 2018 or even 2019 strategy is incredibly dated. Just like trying to sit on hand traps and calling it a day doesn't work anymore. You have to have some kind of proactive function in your deck to play, because there are no more choke points that like hand traps really deal with. They're all bruise points in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! And while that can be beneficial for a deck that actually plays the game, Trickstar is not a deck that organically tries to play the game, which means you can hand trap your opponent 30 times, but since you're not doing anything, it doesn't matter. And that's a thing I think this deck should try to address. But yep, that's about it. Thank you all for watching, and remember, Master Dinnerflax will take your soul.